Well, we're back for another episode of PokéWars on the Gen-Oners YouTube channel. And we are talking today about EXP share. So, going to be another juicy one. If you're watching this video, make sure you like it, subscribe to it, and leave a comment. It's going to be greatly appreciated. Bro, are you ready to talk about this? Because I know you have a lot to say.
Oh, dude, I got so much to say about XP share. So much.
So, we've seen a couple different, I guess, variations of EXP share throughout all the games. Um, let's just let's before we even get into that, EXP share as a whole. Do you like it or do you not like it?
So, as a whole, I understand the concept of it. It alleviates some of the grind in the game cuz let's be real. It takes a long time to get your mons to a decent level sometimes, and fully understandable. So the concept is great. I love it. I like the idea. It's in most other RPGs as well. The issue I have with it lies with it always being on after Gen 6. That is my issue with XP share. What about you, sir?
I yeah, I understand. I respect the idea. I understand the concept. Especially in those earlier games. If you catch something that's a really low level and you want to use it, it makes grinding a lot easier. That you don't have to switch train. So I respect it in that sense. But yeah, when you're talking about the different variations of EXP share that we have, the fact that it just distributes to the whole team and it's on at all times, I hate it. I really do hate it. They make it too easy. I liked it better when it was a held item and it only one Pokemon could get it. That's when I enjoyed it the most, and I thought it was a big deal once you got it. But now, like you said, you start a game and it's just right off the rip, EXP share, bro. I hate it.
Yeah, no, I honestly I did forget about the held item for a second until you brought it up. I think that was like the best concept of EXP share when it was just a held item. Cause yeah, you would still switch train some of the Pokemon. So like you would have one of them hold the item and then you would switch train another one at the same time. Which again is a great idea. It alleviated some of the grind, but it still forced you to, if you wanted to use a certain mon, that you have to grind. Like there's no way around it. You can't just go fight with your level 100 freaking Blastoids or something, you know? One
Yeah,
thing one thing I really did like was I think it was Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. It was the only game that did it. You can turn EXP share off. Only game that did it.
I believe you're right. Yeah, I think you're right on that one. Which it's nice because you could just put like a whole bunch of team of like weaklings with like one good mon and just kind of grind that way, which is nice. But the fact that now, yeah, it's on, it's part of the game. I'm not a fan of that. I think that's really stupid, and that's not Pokemon, bro. It ain't. It ain't it.
It's just not it at all. And like back then, it forced you to switch up your team sometimes. Like yeah, you would still have like your OP starter, your like favorite Pokemon's always going to be OP. Like if you wanted to use other Pokemon, it forced you to actually train.
Mm.
Nowadays, like take Sword and Shield for example. My first playthrough session of that game, I finished it in under 10 hours. Like it was just too easy because by the time I was at like the fourth or fifth gym leader, my whole team was evenly leveled, and I'm just like, why bother switching? Like I don't have to. Everyone's gaining XP if I just leave the one Pokemon in. Like the only time I would switch my top mon is like depending on the typing of the Pokemon in the area. That's it.
Yeah, no, you're right. You can now. We've talked about it. You know, you could Gen 1, you could use your first like Pokemon, right? And just grind that bitch up to level 80 while everyone else is at 2 and that was it. But now use your starter mon and everything just stays the same and you could use it the same and everyone else gets levels and who cares, right? Who cares now? You don't have to use anyone else unless you don't want to.
Exactly. Like I honestly think EXP share like kind of ruined the Pokemon experience for most people, because
Hmm.
like with us, we started it without it. So like getting introduced to it kind of sucked. Most people got introduced to it and they're like, "Oh my god, this is the greatest thing ever. Like I could just evenly grind my Pokemon." But I think that
Yeah.
just that turns the game into something too easy now. Like you're just you're consistently gaining levels throughout the board. Like what's the fun in that? I don't want to see that happen. And like again, I understand the concept. They want to alleviate the grind. They want to make their games more playable for the masses. That's what they're doing. But you're taking the fun away.
Yeah, and I like a in the older games when it was a held item. I thought it was like a big deal once you got that held item. Like it felt like earned. It was awesome, and then you slapped it on someone. That was it. But now you don't get that kind of sensation of like earning that EXP share anymore. It's just it's there. I mean, I know it Pearl and Diamond the remakes. When I wanted to like grind someone up, I would just empty my party so there's just two Pokemon so they could get the max, EXP basically because it would just get distributed amongst six different mons and it wasn't going to level up as quick.
Yeah, that's another thing too with EXP share. Like the the original mom that's on your team isn't even getting like the first one that's going into the fight and you knock it out, whatever. They're not
Hmm.
gaining the full XP that you could get if it was just the one gaining it. So like
Hmm.
kind of like with your style, you just put two in your party and then this way it's somewhat evenly distributed. But
But we shouldn't have to do that. It shouldn't be like that.
yeah, it really shouldn't. And like to add on to that too, like in let use like the first three generations for example, it kind of forced you to use those like kind of crappier Pokemon you got in the beginning. Like I remember in Red and Blue, it would force you to use the Rattata. You had to use the Pidgey or the Caterpie you caught, and you had to train it and level it up because you weren't going to get through the first gym battle without it. It's like it forced you to use those crappier mons that, yes, some of them were cool to use, but it forced you to do it. Now it's like, yeah, you just do whatever. You could go through the first gym battle with your starter mon. Don't worry about it.
Perfect example. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Zubat. Zubat is a terrible mon. Um, there's no sugarcoating it. But the hardest part about Zubat was keeping it alive to keep that max happiness up to get it to a Crobat because Crobat is sick. But now with the shared EXP share that's right from the start, you don't have to do that. You just leave it in the back of the party and eventually it will just evolve into the Crobat?
Exactly. Which, to me, again, kind of lame. Like, you had incentive to use the Zubat to get your Crobat. Now it's, yeah, Zubat's in my party. I'll leave it there so it can level up, and then I'll get my Crobat eventually. Like, there's like no sense of accomplishment in getting that Crobat, you know?
Yeah, I would say also one of my bigger issues is it starts like right from the start of the game. So it's not like, after like the third or fourth gym, like you talk to someone and it's like, oh, here's the EXP share, and then it gives it to you, and then you could use it. It's right from the start. Like it's
Yeah.
just part of the game now.
I think, honestly, that concept that you just brought up would be, it would probably make me like it like a tad bit. Like I would switch my opinion on it just a tad if it was something acquired late game, not from the rip.
Yeah, I like I said, that's like it's not like earned anymore, and you don't have to grind up that Rattata or anything because it's just going to be part of the grind with your starter. It's just it ain't Pokemon to me, and that's my 2 cents on it, bro.
No, same here.
I have nothing else to add to this because now I'm just heated thinking about EXP share and all these kids now. They don't understand the grind. They don't respect the grind anymore. So now I'm just pissed off.
Same, honestly.
Well, if you're still here and if you're older than like 20 years old, you probably understand. But if you're younger, you probably turned it off by now. But if you're still here, make sure you subscribe and like the video and catch us in the next one because we got banger after banger coming out. So, Christian, anything you want to add?
If I keep talking, I'm gonna get more heated. So I think I'm good for now.
All right, guys, we'll catch you in the next one.
Later.